because it refuses to juice up the L1 in order to compromise on decentralization in order to actually create scale enough to fit everyone. So
it begs the question, what does...
So I follow up with this to this Suzu tweet.
I really want to hear what Bankless thinks. I'm very, very interested to hear, because in that video where I was showing you guys what they were saying about Ethereum, and I was saying that Ethereum was never going to be able to scale. ETH 2.0 is never coming out. We've been promised it since 2016, yada, yada, yada. You guys get where I'm going with this. Now, let's take a look at this most recent article, which Vitalik just published, and I shared on Twitter like immediately after it was posted. And I was like, hey, is this accurate? Am I actually reading what I think I'm reading? Because the way I read it was Ethereum ETH 2.0 is either going to launch and they are going to be centralized, or they are going to launch 5 years from now with Endgame or whatever the technology is. And I wasn't sure until I just seen somebody's post over here on Twitter. So let's check it out. So first off, I want to talk about this Bankless interview. So I'm going to let this play here right after I talk about it for a second. But basically what these guys are saying here is this one is kind of defending, I want to say Ryan, I think his name is, was defending everybody else that's kind of been hating on ETH. And this gentleman right here is an ETH maxi, and his exact words were...
And like the Ethereum community like tolerates this sort of behavior. Like they know, like a lot of people, like they don't like it, but like this is part of the game. They understand that traders gonna trade. A lot of people in this space who trade on narratives and not on fundamentals. And that's another dividing line between like the debates, like people who trade on narratives or people who trade on fundamentals. What happens next is that Suzu responds to this tweet. This billionaire trader who's like doing the whole fill then chill thing, being critiqued by Kane Warwick, who is Suzu, tweets out, "Yes, I have abandoned Ethereum despite supporting it in the past. Yes, Ethereum has abandoned its users despite supporting them in the past. The idea of sitting around jerking off while watching the burn and concocting purity tests while zero newcomers can afford the chain is gross." And these are some strong words where Ethereum has abandoned its users. That goes to the heart of so many ETH devs, both on the L1 and on all the L2 research that has been going on. The whole concept of rollups is something that was funded by the Ethereum Foundation to independent researchers to figure out the scaling problem. And Suzu's coming in and saying Ethereum has abandoned its users.
We just want a date. We just want to know, when is this actually going to happen? Not abandoning ETH.
Because it refuses to juice up the L1 in order to compromise on decentralization in order to actually create scale enough to fit everyone. So
it begs the question, what does abandoning users actually mean, right? It's like, are you, by centralizing the thing, is that the worst abandonment of users?
Yes, in my mind, abandoning decentralization is the abandonment of the individual, because decentralization and individuals go hand in hand.
But you also said something.
Oh, I actually kind of did say that. So maybe that's a topic for right now.
It's relevant.
So I follow up with this to this Suzu tweet saying, "Suzu, abandoning decentralization is the biggest sin that you can commit." But the majority of the critiques was that I was making the assumption that anything that's not Ethereum is, quote, not decentralized, and that I'm co-opting the word decentralization to only mean Ethereum. Well, the thing is, Avalanche is a blockchain that is absolutely, it's a fork of death, and it's just pushing the limits. It's just like juicing up how much throughput that you can actually have on the chain, to the point where like if they add any more, the chain falls apart. And they know this because they have had to cap the number of validators that can validate the chain, because if there's too many nodes, not enough nodes can sync up to the chain, and it causes the chain to just fork off and not be able to have consensus. Literally the network topples over. And we saw the same exact phenomenon happen with Solana when it went down for 17 hours. Like it got too juiced, and the network just froze because they just pushed it to the limits too much.
Well, we were just talking earlier about Binance Smart Chain, right? All the issues that validators are having with Binance Smart Chain is because big blocks, and it becomes more centralized and possible to run until the entire thing not only centralizes, but then falls over.
Right. So all these same ETH killer chains, what they are really doing is they are just pushing the limits on network throughput up to the point of instability, and then not going actually any further.
And they say that's okay. They say that's fine. And Ethereum says, no, that's not fine. That is centralization. That is the exact thing that we're fighting. That is the old system. We want a more decentralized system here.
Yeah, it really goes, and I'm going to make a video or something about this later, but like it really goes like, is the network separating its participants into two classes of citizens? The people that can validate the system and the people that are just users of that system.
And if you guys have not been following like how Vitalik words these things, right? It's just plausible enough that you can attack it, but in reality, It's not gonna happen. Like, this is like, I could go back and find 100 different articles about ETH 2.0 and different ideas that every time Vitalik writes one of these, it's like people just run with it and it's okay, but it never actually comes to fruition. Near figured out how to scale proof of stake to an extent. So what does this mean? While there may be many paths towards building a scalable and secure long-term blockchain ecosystem, it's looking like they are all building towards a very similar future. There's a high chance that block production will end up centralized. Either the network effects within rollups or the network effects across cross-chain MEV push-ups in that direction in their own different way. But what we can do is use protocol level techniques such as committee validation, data availability, sampling by bypass channels to regulate this market, ensuring that winners cannot abuse their power. No, you can't. You cannot, man. This is all smoke and mirrors, man. So where he talks here about being ETH-tarded, right? And he says that Suzu says, you literally chose the worst scaling solution possible for your users to defend your own ETH bags. He's 100% right. Near Protocol figured it out. Near Protocol figured out how to scale proof of stake, kind of. Way better than I personally think that whatever solution Vitalik has had. So when Suzu was saying that, that's literally what he was saying. He's saying that Vitalik, you had an opportunity in 2016, here in 2016. So this is when I first made my first video on Casper protocol, which was April 14th of 2016. I made my first video on Ethereum scaling, which was gonna be Casper. So Ethereum's consensus protocol was Casper. And Vlad was the gentleman who actually created this consensus mechanism. And it was gonna be how they were going to scale Ethereum into ETH 2.0. But guess what? I just found this out at an interview at Decentralization from somebody that used to work for Vlad, which is the guy who created the original Casper. There was 2 Casper protocols, one designed by one guy and one designed by another guy. The original one by Vlad was designed to scale, I think similar to how Near did it, I would assume, but it was gonna take about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years at the very least to actually implement and build out his version of Casper. Now, the other guy had a proposal, had an idea that was supposed to be able to do it in like half the time or a fraction of the time. And instead of going with the guaranteed way, the right way, Vitalik ended up choosing to go the faster route because he wanted to basically take ETH to ETH 2.0. Now we can also jump over here and look at another article that was tweeted by Tomia, which is funny because we're gonna read this guy's stuff here in a minute too. Example, Vitalik wrote about why Ethereum and other blockchains might want to use proof of stake in 2014 before Ethereum was even released and way before cryptocurrencies became aware of potential problems with proof of work. Vitalik had already written about it. Yeah, we know. We don't know why, if he was already writing about it in 2014, why did he even launch Ethereum as proof of work? If he was just planning to change it to proof of stake. That's where I keep going. Now let's jump back to the this Bankless interview. I want to say his name is Cody. We'll go with Cody. So Cody is right here, says this goes to the heart of all of the ETH developers, right there at the heart of all of the people that have been working so hard and blah 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 scaling ETH. And here's where it gets good, guys. Listen to what he says next.
Abandoning users actually mean, right? It's like, are you, by centralizing the thing, is that the worst abandonment of users?
Yes. In my mind, abandoning decentralization is the abandonment of the individual, because decentralization and individuals go hand in hand.
Abandoning their users would be centralizing, right? All of these ETH maxis are saying, centralization is the end all, absolute worst thing you can do for cryptocurrency. Any little bit, least bit centralized, right? No, it cannot happen. What ETH stands for, what ETH represents is decentralization. And now because Vitalik writes an article, everybody's like, oh, now, well, if our blockchain is centralized, that's okay because we're gonna add some censorship resistant technology, just like the technology that scaled ETH to ETH 2.0. I'm just saying. This video probably comes off like I'm like hating on ETH, but if you guys see my channel, I was mining ETH when it was $2.64 because nobody can explain to me when Ethereum 2.0 is coming or if it is even coming. If nobody's guaranteeing that it's going to be decentralized, right? And this entire time, everything was built around ETH. Yes, people are paying for things in ETH, but nobody wants, if the technology was there, if the ecosystems were developed, if these other protocols were 100% decentralized and scalable, and there was other options, nobody would be using Ethereum. Why would you pay an Ethereum gas fee when you could use and get the same service somewhere else without the gas fee? Why would anybody stay on Ethereum? People don't realize that you locked up your Ethereum on Coinbase until ETH 2.0 comes out. So if this takes 5 more years, or this takes even 2 more years, if you guys have been in the crypto space long enough, you guys understand how fast things change. You understand how fast these other projects roll out, and you understand how fast the ecosystems of other cryptocurrency blockchains evolve. But we never had a proof of work blockchain that could scale before until today. And not just scale because they think they can, or they have to use a roll up, or they have to use Arweaver or IPFS to store information. I'm talking about a blockchain where you can actually mint NFTs and actually store them on chain. Now, not videos, but still, you can still mint and store small documents on chain. Heck, you could probably even write a couple page paper and actually store it on chain. So people can talk all they want about Kadena, but it is literally inevitable that Kadena becomes the #1 biggest, largest blockchain in the industry if this is the route Ethereum's gonna go. Now, if Ethereum did say, hey, we're gonna stay proof of work, we're gonna fork off and we're gonna make Chainweb, and we're gonna make Ethereum scalable using proof of work, game over. I think people would wait for years for that to happen. And I don't think you'd have to worry about anything. But you're gonna go proof of stake. You're gonna also run into the limitations of bottlenecking this blockchain. Even though you can roll up, even though you can scale, you still have one main chain. And you're gonna try to transport all of that data and roll up this data and do all these things and bring it back and put it back on the main chain in fractions of a second. I think this technology is just too far away. Centralizing Ethereum is abandoning its users. According to this ETH Maxi right here, his words are centralizing Ethereum would be abandoning its users. So that's it, guys. I don't know what to tell you guys. ETH is decentralized. Decentralization is ETH. This is what ETH represents, right? And now Vitalik's gonna publish this article, which talks about centralizing the nodes, centralizing the blocks. So let's talk about this a little bit more. I want to pull up a tweet over here on Twitter, and I got to run, so I'm kind of limited, but I just wanted to share my knowledge, share what I'm thinking with you. So I just wanted to share what I'm thinking with you guys. So this is basically Will from Kadena, basically just retweeting that, hey, here, this is centralization, right? So I'm not misreading this or misinterpreting this. Vitalik is saying that we're either going centralized or it's going to be 5 years. So what am I missing here? Unless ETH 2.0 transactions go fully private, centralized block production breaks censorship resistance and makes protocols exactly like Visa. Centralized transactions, orchestrations mapped out to many merchant banks, ledgers for validation and settlement. And what's crazy is the amount of money that these billionaires have, guys. You guys don't understand that. And I didn't understand this either until I became an influencer in the industry. And I started getting reached out to by PR firm after PR firm after PR firm after PR firm. And they send you an email like, these are the people that we're associated with. We're working with this bank, this person, this player, you may have heard of blah, 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 right? Trying to offer me insanely godly amounts of money to market for projects like Solana, new projects that are building on Ethereum, new projects. Like, these billionaires back these protocols, and then they hire PR firms that hire people like me to make videos on their products and pump the out of these coins, guys. Solana, Avalanche, all of these ecosystems, that's what these billionaires do. They manipulate retail traders into believing what they want them to believe. They fill and shill, they call it. We heard Cody talk about it from Bankless, right? That's what these billionaires do. They fill their bags and they pay people like me to market the F out of their projects and send them to the moon. And until these protocols hit roughly about a $50 billion market cap, now we've seen it happen with Solana a little earlier, and we've seen it happen with Avalanche a little bit earlier. So what Avalanche had to do was cap the amount of validators. So Avalanche, which was once decentralized, is now 100% centralized. They have capped their amount of validators. They have a set amount of validators that can actually validate transactions, and those validators are rewarded with coins. So if you don't have a big enough bag, you're not an Avalanche validator. You don't get to secure the network. You can't go plug in a GPU, fire up your computer and start mining. I have my original Bitcoin thumb drive, my original ASIC thumb drive miner from 2015 that I can plug in to my computer right now and start mining Bitcoin. Now I might not ever mine a single Bitcoin, right? Or I might win the lottery, and that little thumb drive could solve the network, could solve security issues. So before I overtalk it, guys, I'm just gonna leave it at that. But where this is going is Ethereum cannot scale. Ethereum is not, you can't be centralized blocks and say that you're gonna prevent people from, spamming the network or whatever. So you can't have security, and then it just mind blows me, guys. Like, there's so much misinformation out there in this industry. Now, I'm not saying that Solana is not going to be ideal for Star Atlas, right? But we've seen Solana break as soon as Star Atlas game got so popular that so many people were trying to buy NFTs and interact with Radium and all these different protocols all at the same time, that their blockchain couldn't handle 3,000 transactions per second. We know that Visa absolutely does 15 to 16,000, but they claim 24,000. 24,000 transactions per second is roughly, I think, 150 million transactions a minute, something like that. It's astronomical. Then you talk about the amount of data that you can actually store into a block, right? Now we could make blocks bigger, but then that's more information that you're trying to transport across the globe, right? The speed of light can only go around the globe in 1/6 of a second. And I want to say that Solana block times are 400 milliseconds. So think about it like if I wrapped a hose all the way around the world, right? And I filled it with golf balls, and this is like the speed of light. When I put one new golf ball on this side, right? Immediately it pushes another golf ball at the other. That's what you consider like the speed of light, right? When you turn on a light switch, electricity is already at the other end of that switch. So when it flips on, boom, electricity's there. But to transport data, you have to send that piece of data all the way around the world. And yes, networks are extremely, extremely fast, and technology is evolving at a very fast pace. So just because right this second, Solana can't scale, when technology evolves, I think it's like right now we're working at 1 gig Ethernet or whatever. When we go to the next level up, it's gonna be 40. So when that happens, you technically could do 720,000 transactions per second. But even so, every single thing on its Solana is so time sensitive. That's why it broke. When your mempool is filled and when transactions are sitting on the sidelines waiting to go into that next block, and that's why you see on these crypto wallets, they'll have like a gas gauge. Do you want to speed things up? Do you want to pay a little extra to put your transaction ahead of somebody else's? So I guess one way to solve that would be remove the gas limit increase and just go based off of first come, first serve. Seems logical to me. If we just eliminate those gas fees, ETH could survive and go back to penny transactions, but it might take you 4 hours to get a transaction through. I'd rather wait 4 hours and be able to interact with Ethereum personally than have to pay a $100 transaction fee. Let Ethereum just turn into Bitcoin. Let it be that store of value. Let it be that, if Bitcoin's gold, let Ethereum be silver. And then we're still left waiting for crypto cash. What can interact on a daily basis that doesn't need any scaling solutions, that is infinitely scalable, that is proof of work, so you still have that skin in the game. We know it'll never be centralized. You can actually solo mine it. You don't have to pool mine it like you do Bitcoin. There's only one cryptocurrency in this entire ecosystem that has the ability to scale. So yes, they might not have anything built on it. And that's why it's $10 or $20, guys. That's why Kadena is so cheap. Because right now, if you want to build on Ethereum, you go to school and get a degree and get educated in how to program in Solidity. You want to program in Haskell? You can go to school. You can program in Haskell, right? You want to program in Rust? I'm sure Rust now, Solana, Avalanche, and Cosmos, I think, are in Rust, right? Which is another coding language, which is much better than Solidity, safer, but not secure like Kadena, because Kadena is in human readable code. So in order to build Kadena, they had to rewrite the entire coding language, guys. And that's what makes Kadena the most secure blockchain. We just saw who was it get hacked. Solana yesterday had a hack. Somebody found a hack. I don't know if they actually got hacked or if the guy just found the back end door where you could have been draining $27 million a minute out of the Solana ecosystem, up to like $2.7 billion. I think it probably would have been the biggest hack in crypto history in current dollar value. I know like the Mt. Gox hack was like $650 billion now in today's currency, but back then it was 650 million or whatever it was. It was a lot of money. So yeah, where I'm going with this, I'm just interested, guys. Anybody that's watching this video that's an ETH maxi, I want to go back through other posts where they talk all this crap about centralization, and now watch the entire ecosystem just all of a sudden magically now we can be centralized. We got Visa, guys. We want to build a centralized business. We can do that. We already have those. They're already there. But a business that isn't owned by a single person and isn't dictated by the people that have the most amount of money get to control the network, right? It's a no-brainer, guys. It's a no-brainer. Kadena, unlike Bitcoin that only has 21 million coins in circulation. These bigger other YouTubers, right? Like Coin Bureaus, 33% of his portfolio is made up of ETH. Do you think he's gonna be over here saying these things and like trying to go, okay, hey, if this doesn't happen, I'm really interested to see how long it takes Coin Bureau, who is so adamant about decentralization being the key. I'm really curious to see what he says when Ethereum starts talking about going centralized, because once that happens, it's a wrap, guys. It'll just be. Love you guys. Shout out to Scott. Peace.